Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Is anybody new? No? Everyone's been here before. Um, so, I thought about what to talk about. And usually, something will start to come together, something will start to form, and I'll be able to kind of lock on to something that I can develop and work with. And this time, nothing came up. I was just like, nothing is really coming up as something to grab onto or to um, allow or to invite. And of course, I can go on and on. I can go on and on forever about all kinds of things, but it's nice to have something that feels like it's you know, energetically relevant and appropriate or uh, present. And so, with that in mind, I really do want to, open it up a bit. I do have some things that I can and would like to talk about um, for several reasons. But I also want to play off of the energies that are happening here and what everyone's going through. And um, yeah, I'd like to, some of you who are doing the precepts class, I would love to hear any questions or thoughts that you're having about that. Um, and so, yeah, it's kind of an empty talk. Um, and so I invite you now. Does anybody have is there anything on your mind that feels like it's important or relevant? I mean, geez. So we got the Jukai class, but we also have our crazy world going crazy and so many things to have to deal with and have to look at and process. Um, and then we have our own struggles and practices that we're working on and working towards. Um, anybody have anything that kind of is you're feeling like sharing right now? Yes, Kim.
Well, something that that's been on my mind in my practice recently is this concept of the leap of faith and really taking that impossible step when you know that within your own power it wouldn't be possible, and basically taking that step anyway. And for me, it's been particularly in a work sense. I've started a new job it's a new role for me, and it feels like sometimes it feels like it's out of my reach. It feels like it's definitely out of my comfort zone. And I see other people in that role, and I just watch it and I think I don't have that yet. Like I can't do that yet. And and I've just been working with this leap of faith, um, showing up and doing it, not not because I think I can do it, but because of that trust that if you're in the right place, what needs to come through you will come through. And it's very scary, but actually, if you can really believe that whatever is in you is enough for whatever you're faced with. If you can really believe that, then actually it becomes effortless and easy. But to really believe that, you're constantly faced with this feeling of impossibility. So it's been interesting more and more starting to relax into that fear. That's what I've been working on this week.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, that's a really powerful dynamic and a powerful experience and an idea and experience to work with. Um, so I'll just speak to that for a bit. Um, so a few things came up for me while you were sharing that. One is that we do have a koan. It's like basically stepping off of 100-foot pole. And so the koan is how do you step up? How do you step off a 100-foot pole? And I'm probably got that wording wrong, but that's the idea. In the koan, it's more relative to awakening. It's like once we've awakened, how do we move into the world? How do we step back into our daily life and manifest awakening? How do we manifest our awakening? And it's a universal question. It's a koan. And so I think for those of us or those of you who've had an experience of awakening, right? If you've experienced oneness and experienced emptiness, then that's a powerful context to recognize that I have an experience of oneness. I know what this is. I know what my life is in that sense, that I am this oneness and I am emptiness. I don't have a fixed self. I'm open and changing. So you can give yourself that context of working with this. How am I manifesting my awakening? Is one, way to look at this. Another is, I guess Dogen talks about taking the step back, right? So this sense of this leap of faith is really a step back of faith. It's like taking the step back and giving ourselves space, to turn inwardly, to practice, with myself, my no self. So this step back of faith is a real practice point. And I think part of that is recognizing that we're creating our life. This is our creation. You're creating your life. You're creating this job. This is your universe. How do you want your universe to look and to be? So there's no pressure from others. There's no pressure from the outside. It's really just a manifestation of this is my life. And that can give a sense of freedom. And it's the trick of that is to remember that. Being in that space is really powerful, because then, I'm going into a situation where I'm looking at me. I'm feeling pressure from me on to me. how other people think and look and judge has no relevance anymore. Because this is just me and my life. It's like my hologram that I've created. How am I? What do I want to do with this? How can I function in this to manifest the reality and the universe that I choose and that reflects me, my reflection? So that that takes pressure off. It's a wonderful way to practice. Now the trick of these ways to work with this is presence, is our presence. It's being present. And so cultivating and developing and strengthening our concentration is really essential. And it takes years and years and years and years of practicing, developing our concentration, retraining our brain to be present, to be able to be more present, which is it's an impossible goal, but we do it, and it works. We do develop concentration so that we can bring it to these situations. I can be in the midst of work and be frustrated and discombobulated and remember, oh, wait, it's just me. I'm not controlling the universe. I can let go. I'm letting go of the control. And that's really that step back. Is I'm going to step back and I'm going to let the universe take over. I don't feel any more pressure that I have to control everything and make everything work. That's easy once we've remembered that we're here. So that's the hard part. Keep meditating, keep sitting, keep cultivating concentration, keep cultivating presence so that we can bring it forth more and more. So that's my response to that. Thank you for offering that. Would you like to respond or?
Well, let's see. Stepping back is a good way to put it, and allow it. Because that's sort of what I meant when I said, if you could really believe that, then it's effortless because you are not doing anything. But in order to actually let go of the reins to that extent, it's as scary as jumping off a cliff and just falling forever. But falling is flying. If you're learning how to fly, falling and flying, you can't distinguish between the two things. It's the same.
All right. Well, nice work. Nice work.
I really like this thing that's coming up with what you said. Like, on the one hand, you create your universe. On the other hand, you can't control it. Give up control. And though that's an interesting, almost paradox. But then it made me think of some of the ways that Judeo-Christian people talk about God. That God created the universe, but that he's not like Eve. But that God is not controlling everything that's happening.
Thanks, God.
Phil, I'm so sorry. Can you unplug the green cord? I'm worried because I don't hear the phone. So I don't want to bring it out. Thanks.
Can
I don't know.
Can he? Can't control it.
All right. Yeah, I appreciate that. Right, we are the to see that we are the creators of the universe is powerful, and then to see that we can't control it. We're not in control, is powerful, and it is a paradox. It's part of the classic Zen paradox. That we are everything and we're nothing. And we are one and we are many. We are the creators and we create nothing. Is part of this awakening beyond dualism, beyond rationality. Yeah, it's a lifetime's work. It's a lifetime of work to gain clarity and experience with these things, to experience those, both sides of the paradox. Takes a lot of effort, and it takes no effort. I recently watched this documentary where they saved another Mormon group. It's on Netflix. It's new. It's relatively new. Like just in this last week it came out. It's really powerful. It's really a great documentary about this couple that went into this part of Mormon country and basically became friends and were invited into this relatively small group where they had to really get to know them and gain trust, and over time all of these really terrible abuses were revealed, and they were able to document this unfolding to the point where by the end it's like it was one of the largest busts in history, where these mostly young women were being manipulated and then abused, all in this cult-like belief system, like their community, their sangha. It just really goes to show how vulnerable we are as people. People are not really meant to be. People are meant to be followers in lots of ways. Like a lot of how we are built and how we just function in society to help contribute to a good society, we kind of got to follow along, and we kind of got to go with the flow and believe what we're being told, and have trust and faith and sincerity. But that dynamic can, in a context, in the right or wrong context, we're so vulnerable to that manipulation of that. And especially when the belief system is dualistic and hierarchical. Because when it's dualistic, then they can just talk you into this is bad and this is good, and if you want to be good, then you got to do this, and then all your motivations kick in to be good and do the right thing. And then the hierarchy kicks in and says, now I'm the one who tells you what's good, and now I'm the one that you need to follow in order to have access to this good. It, we are all vulnerable to this. And so I wanted to give props to, to Zen and Buddhism and Buddhist Sanghas for, not that we're invulnerable, because Buddhist Sanghas are vulnerable to that. When you have a strong teacher who's teaching a lot of, this is the way you got to do it, and this is how it needs to be done, and by the way, I'm the only one who can really verify that you're doing it right. Anytime you hear that kind of talk, we should be trained to raise our sensitivity to those kinds of languages, that kind of language, and those kinds of teachings. And Seizen, for example, really did a wonderful job in this Sangha, to build this Sangha and this temple with the horizontal, like the horizontal safety nets for us. So we have the benefit. I mean, geez, what a wonderful and special way to practice our spirituality with this openness. You're encouraged to question. Like one of the takeaways from by the end of the documentary, this woman who was raised in this Mormon cultish hierarchy, one of her great realizations was that as a woman, I should be allowed to ask questions. Like something that seems so simple and so basic to us is really against the rules in a lot of places. The more conservative the countries, the more conservative the environment, the more disallowed it is to simply ask a question. Well, wait a minute. Are you sure about that? Did God really say that to you? How do you know God said that to you? How do we know that it's not just you? I mean, these are the basic questions that we are encouraged to ask here. Right? So if I say something that doesn't make sense or doesn't fit right or makes you feel funny, right? We are encouraged to ask these questions and to voice our discernment and to voice what feels funny and doesn't feel right publicly. Yes, sir.
Show you here. You're going to see where I'm going in a second. Thinking about Dune. So, new movies came out, and, the books have been out for a long time. And the first book really looks like the hero's journey. And that's how most people took it. And then the second book came out, and they were very disillusioned. People were very angry. You ruined the character, you ruined the story. But if at the end of the movie that came out, the end of the book, it ends with the beginning of the jihad, this holy war that spreads throughout the universe, and billions of people are killed in this war. And Frank Herbert said, yeah, this book is meant to say that charismatic leaders should have a warning label. Should be cautious around them, should question them.
All right, thank you for that reference. Yeah, it's a dynamic, it's a human dynamic. And I think it's getting hard. Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, right now we're under the I don't know, leadership of one of the worst, most charismatic, yet completely delusional and ridiculous leaders. I mean, it's just amazing to think. Here we are in America experiencing this horrible leadership with a cult following that just believe, you know, I mean, I know nobody here is a strong follower, right? So I'm not trying to tiptoe around it. But yeah, it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious. We are vulnerable to that, and we are susceptible, and we are in the midst of that kind of leadership, where we like to think we're so clear and independent, and yet we struggle to talk with our neighbors and community members about these basic things. I don't like talking to the other side about these things. My best practice is to send love from my own comfort of my own backyard, where I can just send love without confronting all of the scariness and pain of getting out there and telling people directly how wrong they are or how painful this is. It's hard. It's so hard to confront authority in a system, in a system that's being controlled and manipulated and propagandized. You know, so I don't know. I guess the takeaway isn't that there's a variety of takeaways. One is that that's me. That's just, and I've been walking around with this lens lately. When people are doing things I don't like, or I'm like, why am I doing that? Or, you know, even being attracted to somebody else. Why am I attracted to me in this way? Like, why is that me? Why are you me? Why are they me? Why am I doing all what they're doing? You know, so that's a takeaway, is that why am I running the country like this? Why am I supporting somebody who's running the country like this? It's the ultimate projection, right? So starting to be able to see through my projection and to see, oh, this is just me. This is just versions of me. And I'm fighting with myself to stop fighting with myself. Is one takeaway. Like, that's kind of like the ultimate in oneness, right? The oneness takeaway. Ale?
You know, where I think because of my own patterns and psychological, spiritual, whatever makes me patterns. I've had a pretty visceral response to that notion, but that it just sort of proposed. I think things are always a proposition, right? Never a final reality. Right? I don't think there is a word that is ultimately a truth that is ever consistently across dimensions or across realities the truth. And so, but the invitation that I heard from you is that in the oneness and in the creation of the universe, where I get heavy and angry and is that the victims in this case say that it's Epstein file, folks. Were they also creating their own world? Were they going to suffer this absolutely just right? That's where I is there a risk for elevating the discourse to that level where, or should we take responsibility also and say, in this framework reference, in this framework, we're all co-creators of reality, victim, victimizer, that's one, and the ultimate sort of understanding of humanity and experience. And in the relative, of course, nobody should be creating a world in which children are victimized in such a way. Because it's hard for me to think that a child thought, oh, well, that's my kind of universe, I'm creating it. And, oh, or Native Americans, I'm just going to create this universe where white people come and decimate the community and shoot and continue to do that. That's too much of an easy way out to me. Like, it's too much of, oh, well, we're projecting and we're all creating a world in which that happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you. And you know, there's easy answers and there's hard answers, and we often shy away from the hard answers because it's hard to go into that and talk about it. And so it starts to get complicated when we start to see the many layers of existence and karma. And also, it's hard for us as humans here to have a scope of a real context, a real range of, if we could see the trillions of lifetimes, the trillions of years of being born and reborn and reborn and reborn and changing places, and in this lifetime I'm the bad guy, in this lifetime I'm the good guy, in this lifetime I'm the child who's been abused, in this lifetime I'm the child who's been privileged. We all experience all of that. This is all of us, of everybody, just trading places throughout the universe, throughout millions and billions and trillions of lifetimes. So it's hard for us to see that. It's hard for us to really contextualize that level of awareness, because we're just like right here and our dualistic references, and it's hard to see that my addictions, the terrible things that I've been through in my life, it's hard enough for me to see why I put myself through that so that I could come to this place. I've learned my lessons through the pain that I've been through. Seeing, right, we have a koan of who are you before your parents were born. It's being able to take responsibility for everything in the universe in order to take responsibility for nothing in the universe. So the context is infinitely big. And so it's like, where do we choose our context to wrestle with the question. For us here, in this form, in this lifetime, it makes sense to see, oh, I chose to make bad decisions so that I could learn from them. I chose to be in bad relationships so that I could learn that I don't want to be in bad relationships. Or I've chose to be a bad guy. I've chose to be an asshole in order to choose that I don't want to be an asshole anymore. Like, that's a lot for us, right? Just that in itself is a lifetime of work. Seeing that I chose bad relationships for myself in order to learn what I'm not. That's like a small slice of this infinitely large context where I can see that, yeah, I am the abused child. I am the abused Native American. I am that. That is me. And I chose to go through that in order to learn what I'm not and to learn to love. I've chosen the evil in order to choose love. And I could not have learned this without that. To experience that level of oneness is real. It's real, and it does happen. And it's profound. And it leads to empathy. We can empathize with those who've suffered in ways that we haven't. Anyway, it's like going from here to there and back again. But it is available. And that is a reality. That is available. And, people who've been traumatized in this lifetime are not being asked to experience that. People who are traumatized in this lifetime are not being expected to embrace that. And so it's important to have boundaries with that as well. And to realize, no, I'm not the bad guy. I'm not a murderer. I'm not a rapist. I am not a thief. And I never will be, and I never have been. I'm not a bad person, and I never will be, and I never have been. That's a fair boundary to make within the context. But if there's space and willingness and openness to expand the context, then I can see, oh, I am Trump. I am his cultish followers. I am ICE. I am the bad guy. I am the murderer. To be able to open up the context when it's safe enough is a powerful and profound experience of empathy. We can't just empathize with the suffering, right? We have to empathize with the bad guys too, to have a fully balanced, well-rounded sense of empathy. A true empathy is being able to empathize with the devil and the God, and to see that I am both. And like I said, the traumatized have no expectation and no pressure to go there. And I'm very close with people who've been traumatized more than we can even speak of. And that's an essential boundary, is to not empathize with the bad guys when there's trauma. And so it's just one slice of this whole huge pie. But there's a lot of slices, and there's a lot of context. And we could talk forever about all the contexts where it makes sense to recognize that I am the bad guy, which is just as difficult as recognizing that I am the good guy or the good person. So that's the hardest question, right? You ask the hardest question. There's no question harder in spirituality than the question you asked. And it's always there. It's always available. Any spiritual talk ever, you can always bring up the question, well, what about those who've suffered the most? How can they be expected to relate to oneness? That's always the hardest question. And the trickiest to answer.